Hey everyone, Todd Moen here. I'm in Anchorage, Alaska. We're loading up our next plane at Lake and Peninsula Air. We have an hour-and-a-half flight into Iliamna, and I hop on a float plane, fly into Royal Wolf, and then get ready for a week of trout fishing with the best.
I think everybody should see Alaska. And if you're a fisherman, a fly fisherman, you should definitely see Alaska. One of the things for fly fishermen is not everybody wants to fish streamers or even fish beads, which is kind of the quintessential fishing experience when people think about Alaska. The whole life cycle of our trout up there is completely tied to the sockeye salmon. But within that, we have rivers with phenomenal mayfly hatches. The best drake hatches I've ever seen are in Alaska. Fish maybe aren't quite as big as they are in August and September when they've been gorging on eggs, but it's still really big trout on dry flies. The same type of fishing you'd be doing in Montana, you can do in Alaska. I'm Nate Morris. I'm the managing partner at Royal Wolf Lodge. The Royal Wolf is located in Katmai National Park and Preserve. Its southern border is the national park, and its other three borders are Katmai National Preserve. If you could just draw up where to build a fishing lodge in Alaska, you would have picked Royal Wolf. That's why there's a piece of private property in Katmai National Park, because somebody decided that that should be private property for a lodge long before there was a national park there. Everything's short flights. You know, we have 2 lakes to operate out of. We have a home river that at certain times of the year can be the best fishing anywhere in the region. 20 minutes from the moraine, we're 20 minutes from Brooks, and everything in between is right in our backyard.
Day one here in Katmai National Park. It's one place I've never been. We are way off the grid here in Alaska. We're at the headwaters of the American River. Got a mouse on, hopefully see some green drakes. Should be a good day.
We hike a lot. We have places that I'm pretty certain nobody else is doing, nobody else has figured out a route in. And not everybody can do those big hikes, but if you can, just like anywhere else, if you can put in an hour to get away from people, you get to a place that hasn't seen anybody in a week or 2 weeks, or maybe not yet this year. And that's the Alaska everybody dreams about. We use these helio-courier planes, which are designed to take off in a much shorter distance than a beaver is and land in a much shorter distance. It opens up a world of Alaska that nobody else is able to get to. So we're able to offer some really unique fisheries partly because of our planes and partly because of our willingness to bushwhack a little bit. But it takes a little work to get away from the crowds.
We are bushwhacking to a river right now. Hopefully it's worth it. But it is buggy and it's very muggy and very tight in here. Bears everywhere. You never know what you're gonna run into in Alaska, especially when way off the grid. The bug head net is an absolute game changer. You would not be able to do it without it. There's no way. And if you stand in one place, you're drilled to death by Alaskan mosquitoes. You gotta keep moving.
You know, 2023 was, when we were shooting this film, it was the worst mosquito year that anybody's ever seen. Every single lodge owner I've talked to, guides that have been around for 30 years, it was the worst. But with that, usually means that you have really nice weather, calm days, things that are really conducive to good fishing, good hatch activity. Sometimes those go hand in hand. And usually once you're actually out on the water, the mosquitoes aren't an issue.
It's a nice green drake nymph there. It's about ready to pop. You can see the wing pads are starting to form up there, so it's going to pop in pretty soon.
For me, and I think for a lot of anglers, if you've ever experienced a good green drake catch, that's as good as dry fly fishing gets. But we'll get great caddis hatches. You know, the stretches on the American in particular where stoneflies are pretty readily available. And they're smaller, they're size 10, maybe a size 12. But trout are also, and especially in Alaska, they're opportunistic feeders. So they haven't seen a lot of food for the last 7 months. And all of a sudden there's a tasty morsel going by. It's like, yeah, I'll eat that, sure. And there's just something about a drake hatch that you almost wonder if they taste better.
We've got green drakes, we've got PMDs, we've got stoneflies out there, we've got caddis. I think they were on green drake emergers. I think they're starting to transition into some PMD stuff now. I haven't seen a green drake in a while. But the fish are just going nuts the whole time. I mean, it's just been one after another.
It was a perfect dry fly scenario all around. We'd picked off fish after fish after fish, and we were watching that trout on the far bank. He looked like he had the biggest head of them all. But you know if you go and hook the one on the far side that's the big fish, like everything else slows down after that. Like you can't just go after that fish right away. If he's gonna consistently keep coming up, it's like you gotta be tactical. Pick off one fish after another, work our way across. You know, I was trying to tell Todd how to do his videography, and finally he decided, all right, Nate, it's time to go over there. And I don't know how far upstream he went. I don't know, 100, 200 yards upstream, crossing over, making sure that we doesn't disturb him. Gets in the tree line, hikes all the way down. The mosquitoes are thick in there if you're in the trees. They're not bad in the river, but in the trees they were bad. And belly crawls his way out to the opening. Bam, fish rises, it's just perfect, you know, whole body take, comes all the way out.
We're in trouble.
Oh.
Holy. Oh boy. Get the net back.
Why do you have to go down there? Just trying to ease them back up. No, it was an epic shot. It was just fun too to plan it all out. It was, like I say, it was tactical, both in the fishing itself, but also in getting that shot, which is a pretty spectacular shot.
Not made for people over 6 feet, you know.
A floatplane in Alaska is as quintessential as fly fishing in Alaska. It's a piece of the whole experience. It's a huge piece of the whole experience. You know, the rumble of a beaver in the morning that just has some sense of like there's an adventure to be had today, and it just gets you excited from the get-go. You know, the Helios offer a totally different experience. They're a little more nimble and can land in such short distances, take off in such short distances. You know, there's just something about a floatplane in Alaska that's special. You know, every time you get in a float plane, it is a new adventure. You know, you're hoping to spot a moose out the window. You're hoping to see some caribou or some bears running. Maybe you get an opportunity to go fly down and see the Valley of 10,000 Smokes, which is just don't see on planet Earth. And every time you're in a float plane, what you're guaranteed is you're going to see something beautiful and you're going to get to go somewhere special. One of the most special places we go to is Brooks. People travel from all over the world just to see Brooks, to see the falls, to see the fish jump in there and the bears trying to catch fish jump in the falls.
So we just landed at Brooks Camp. We are gonna be here all day, dry fly fishing and looking for some big brown bears. This is gonna be pretty epic. Look at this, it's like a parking lot out here. Parking lot of airplanes. And there's bears everywhere. And we're gonna be dry fly fishing on the Brooks River, plus bear viewing. It's gonna be pretty cool. So we'll just see how it goes. Beautiful day. You couldn't ask for a better day.
In an effort to protect people and make it safe, one of the things that they've done is they added gateway systems on the bridges. Conjures up feelings of being in Jurassic Park, where you're going through here, you've got these alpha predators out there, and these locking gates behind you.
I'm making my way down the boardwalk at Brooks Falls, hoping to see a few big Alaskan brown bear. We're almost here.
You get to see something that is in National Geographic. It's very unique. But what's a way cooler experience is getting in with a guide, getting in the river, fishing with those bears. Bears all around you. All of a sudden, you're not on a platform anymore, and you get down there with the bears. It's a whole different adventure than being up there on a boardwalk. Brooks is a place that always has the potential for that fish that's in that 26 to 30 inch range. Really hard to actually catch them. And then we fish with lighter line there, because if you hook a fish and a bear gets close, you got to be able to break that fish off. So, trying to catch a 28 inch trout on light tippet in that scenario can be really tough. So it's a lot easier to hook them than it is to land them, but the potential's there every time you go. Anytime you hook a big fish at Brooks, it's a bit of an adventure. You don't know exactly what's going to happen. And the bears are constantly moving.
What do you think?
I think if I land this fish, it's going to be pretty incredible.
And you've got to be aware of that. You've got to keep your head on a swivel, kind of keep track of them. You do want to follow that rule. If a bear gets within 50 yards, you got a fish on, you need to break that fish off. So you're kind of playing a game here a little bit. We moved downstream at times just to avoid bears that were moving in upstream. They weren't interested in us at all, but that's where they were fishing. So just to give them a little bit of distance. You got to play bear frogger in the middle of the river to make sure you stay legal and stay safe. It's definitely a different experience.
So I'm wading down the Brooks River. I can see 8 brown bears right now in view. There's one right behind me. Just sitting there looking for sockeye. We're just making our way down the river looking for risers. I mean, this is just incredible. Brooks Camp, Katmai National Park and Preserve. Doesn't get any better. And right over here we have a mama and 3 cubs. No joke. Down there. This is crazy. This is an amazing experience. Holy.
I think for me, Alaska is just different than anywhere else I've ever been. The scale of it, so vast. You just don't know what tomorrow's gonna hold. Like, it's a new adventure every single day. There's days when it's just pouring down rain. And then the next day is this beautiful sunshine and hatches and fish going crazy. And you're like, oh my goodness, this is the best I've ever seen. Once I started up there, it was like you couldn't get enough of it. You just gotta get back.